Welcome everyone to another Parking Network hosted webinar. Today it's presented by Thorn Lighting. The title of the webinar is Solutions for Energy Efficient and Sustainable Car Park Lighting. So your presenters are going to be Alan, Head of Application for Industry, Jens, Product Manager ECS, and Eliot, Head of Application for Outdoor. So Alan, take it away.
Okay, so welcome to the webinar from Thorn. Our subject today is solutions for energy efficient and sustainable car park lighting. And we have an agenda that we want to share with you. We kind of want to talk about the driver for the background to sustainability and energy saving. We'll look at the solutions for indoor lighting, and Jens will cover the wireless part in indoor connected. And for the outdoor, we have Eliot to help us. So, introduction. My name is Alan Joannidi. I'm Head of Applications for Thorn Industry. I've been with the company for about 15 years, originally based in Spennymoor as a product manager, but now based here in Austria as an application for Thorn brand. Eliot, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name's Eliot Horsman, and I'm Head of Application for Outdoor. So I'm currently physically in our plant in Les Andelys in northern France, but I'm normally based in the UK. And car parks is a big part of our focus in the outdoor lighting solutions world.
Hello, also from my side, my name is Jens Beecken. I'm product manager for indoor lighting controls as well as for wireless solutions. And I'm happy to be here and present to you some hopefully helpful solutions also in the wireless technology.
Okay, so I just want to lead before we talk about the subject of lighting, some of the trends that we're seeing that's affecting the lighting industry. One of the big ones we're seeing is refurbishment. LED is certainly come of age now, and we're seeing a lot of requirement and direction in the way of upgrading refurbishment products now. The trend certainly in Europe is not to move towards new build, but refurbish old buildings. And this is definitely for lighting something we're seeing. The connected solution, certainly with wireless solutions, daylight harvesting, and new technologies that are coming along, such as the Loom data from Tridonic, and where you can do things like predictive maintenance. And one of the biggest drivers is, certainly in Europe, is this EU Green Deal. The European Union want 100% climate neutrality by 2050. They're investing €1 trillion in this plan. It really promotes refurbishment, and there's lots of local funding going on within the market. And the other area for Thorn really is sustainability, energy efficiency, green building certification, recycling are all big areas that we're very much focused on. And this is kind of driving the lighting industry at the moment. And when we look at the background to it, the European Union have really set this zero net carbon by 2050, which is quite a target. Prior to that, they're looking by 2030 to reduce CO2 emissions by 55%. And we have a quote from McKinsey saying this is actually quite a big task in Europe. And they think it won't be achieved until the late 2040s. And the European Council President in 2020 says, actually, this is a necessity. We can't actually ignore this anymore. To very much save the planet, we have to take this seriously. And from a lighting manufacturer, this is something where we very much want to get involved in. 13% of the emissions of CO2 come from buildings. And we think lighting will play an important part of this. We now have low energy consumption, good quality lighting, and we've got the tools now to help that achieve that target set by the EU. But there's another driver for lighting, and this is one that really, I think, affects car parking, especially indoor car parking. And this is the phase out of T8 and T5 fluorescents. By August next year, within Europe, T8 and T5 will be completely phased out. And I think this will kind of drive in other countries they demand to fall. You can see that fluorescent came in 1934, and there are absolutely millions and millions of fluorescent solutions out there. So there's quite a lot of things to do. And we know from the data that we collect that even within Europe, 58% of the installed base is still not LED. So not even half the market is LED. So we know that there is still a lot of work to do to kind of get towards this target of reducing energy and also reducing our energy consumption. So where does Thorn come into this? Thorn have been a manufacturer for well over 90 years. We are based in the UK. We do both indoor and outdoor lighting, and we focus very much on car parking because from our offer, we can solve problems for both the outdoor part of the car park, the indoor part, but also the building surrounds and the roadways. So we have a focus on what we do best. And looking at car parks, Thorn are very much a champion of good lighting, and that's really what we want to do. Car parks need to be safe and secure for the people that use the car parking. We want them to feel safe because they can be busy spaces. And, the obstructions of just moving cars and pedestrians, good lighting helps avoid any accidents that happen here. But also we like to follow the regulation, and we normally follow the norms of the EN. So looking at the areas of car parking that we really kind of focus our lighting solutions, we look at the outdoor area, and we have the solution for the outdoor, and Eliot will speak deeply in this nearer to the end of the presentation, and where we want to make people feel safe in those areas and avoid dark spots. And in the indoor segment, again, indoor is, we don't want to walk into a dark cave. We want to light them so that people recognize faces, recognize the pathway. But also the surrounding of the building. You walk from the car park to your retail park or to another area. And again, we need to ensure that people feel safe. And the lighting regulation means that we're not polluting light going upwards. So we spend a lot of our energy actually looking at making sure light points downwards and we don't get reflected upward light. But again, Eliot will talk about this in his part of the presentation. So looking at indoor lighting, and here we're looking at the indoor, the multi-story car parks, the underground car parks, in retail spaces, in airports, and in transportation areas. And all of them have basically these four elements, where the entrance and the exit, where there could be a change from dark to light and light to dark. So lighting this space needs to minimize any glare to the driver. This area is probably exposed to the elements. So again, we need to ensure the lighting always works. And they're probably operating 24/7. Going into the parking area itself, we need to avoid, the possibility of people driving into each other or driving over things. The good lighting, again, is quite important, and we need to make sure it's safe. And we use a choice of optics to get this. And also, we consider lighting controls in this area. And then looking at the other areas, pay station, this is quite an area where people are probably quite agitated. They have a lot of people around them. They're trying to pay for their parking. So this area needs to be well lit, mainly from a security area. And then there's the people that work in the car parking. We need to consider them. They're spending long hours in the office. So we need to ensure the lighting in that area avoids glare off the screens, and it's a comfortable place for them to work in for long periods. And this is something that we try to do with our solutions. So part of lighting, we always try and follow the regulations. And when we're doing lighting design, we follow probably two regulations, which is the EN 12464, but also one that's followed by the DIN regulation, which is very much a German-speaking segment. Both these regulations are acceptable and very good. And I can show you the difference between the two in the parking standards. One of them, the EN standard, really measures the floor and measures that's good light on the floor that allows you to still drive within the space and also walk the space. And for the DIN specification, they have a slightly different. They look at the level of lighting 1.2 above the horizontal, and also they measure 3 levels on the vertical, so 0.8, 1.2, and 1.6. And this achieves good visibility of people. So you can see the face, you can see the features of people, so as you're driving around, and it makes the whole area a very safe space. And this is something that we can offer as part of our service. So looking at the car park area, what can we do? We offer a number of products. And these products are specified looking at the car park region, because we know that normally in a car park area, the ceiling lights are quite low. So we need to use a kind of a wide beam optic. Traditionally, the AquaForce Pro is what we would use with this wide beam. It's IP65, it's IK08, so it's tough and resistant, and it allows for this dusty environment that could occur within the car park. But it has this very wide optic, and by having the wide optic, it means we can light all the spaces within the car park itself and avoid this dark cave atmosphere. But we also have other products. We have Force LED, which is a very high resistant. It's made of aluminium. So if there are areas where we need exposure to the elements, then we can use Force LED. So we have the options of products that we use and we can pick depending on the application area. And then we have another product called Katona, which is intended for stairwells. It has a 2000 lux output. It's IP65 and IK10, so very tough. And it fits very well in this environment where you need tough, robust products. Some of the trends we're seeing indoor is going to be very much new technologies. So we see that now that there is security cameras very much. There are cameras that will identify your number plate to visualize you coming in and leaving, but also the growing demand for electric chargers, the EV points. The estimate is by 2030, there'll be something like 17 to 18 million electric cars across the world, and a large proportion of them will be within Europe. So this additional energy consumption is quite important in the construction and development of car parking. From a lighting point of view, this is where we think we come in very well, because our aim is to reduce energy within the car park environment. And we see that in the future, the management of energy within the car park environment will be an important factor. So what we want to do is help you is saving energy, and what tools can we give you and offer you to do that, especially in the refurbishment market. So the options we always see is LED tubes, gear replacement for the products that are already there, or a one-to-one new replacement of a product. And for all of them, there are things you need to consider. LED tubes, they're very easy to install, they're available, but putting them into an existing product really causes some negativities. So for example, light distribution. The light distribution of fluorescent is completely different to an LED tube. So do we achieve what we set up in our lighting design, and do we create shadows by putting in the LED tubes? There is no lighting control, so we can't dim the products. And also, if you put this type of product into an IP65 or 66 fitting, then is there going to be a thermal issue? And do it then cause failure of the product because it overheats? So there are some pros and cons, but from our Thorn feeling is that there's more negatives than positives. The other thing is just to replace the gear tray that's already installed. So that's very easy to install. They're available. We already offer this as a service from Thorn. It fits into the current luminaire, and also it doesn't destroy the architecture of the ceiling that's already there. It may be that you've got an historic building and you can't really take out the old fitting and then put in the new fitting. But here there are some negatives because, again, the distribution between the fluorescent tube and an LED tube can be slightly different. And the other issue we have to consider is the fitting itself. So, for example, an IP65 waterproof fitting may have been in a building for 10 years. And at this time, there may be UV issues, and the plastic may start to become brittle. And if you change this for a gear tray, then you might actually break the original fitting. And actually, the final thing is really the cost. The main element of the light source is the driver and the LED, and that's where all the cost really comes. So if you're going to replace that, then actually maybe the consideration is just a one-to-one replacement of a new product. And if we do that, we can guarantee the efficiency of the product is designed together. And the lifespan, the products we're bringing to market now, they last 100,000 hours. And if you're operating a car park for 24/7, that's over 12 years use from one product. So there is very low maintenance, which is a real benefit. Performance, because the LED and the optics are designed together, we get great performance. And lighting controls, we can now introduce lighting controls, which we'll talk about later. So, and then it meets the needs of the user and of the space. The one-to-one is actually designed to go in that location. So I've got a case study just to try and explain what I mean and how we see this as something we need to do in the future. This is a car park that we from Holland, and it was an existing car park that we refurbished. It had 125 fluorescent tubes in it, and they needed to be replaced with LED. The car park itself was operating 24/7, and the estimate was a 12-year lifetime before they wanted to do any replacement. And it's just a very simple refurbishment option. And when we put this into the calculation and the solution, so the payback period was under 15 months. The amount of energy that we saved was 55%, so a big reduction in energy. And also on CO2, we saved over 38,000 kilograms of CO2 over the 12-year period. And the solution complied with the new parking norms. So it did what we aimed it to do, which is light the area correctly, but also save energy. And this is something that we really are trying to bring across, that these targets that we have of energy efficiency and sustainability, even by just changing to LED, that gives you a good option. But what else can we do? What other options that we have? One thing we can look at a control solution and a wireless control solution. We can still look at reducing energy consumption and our carbon emissions even more. LED is great, but a lighting solution, control solution, could be even better. And if we have a wireless lighting control system, then we can minimize our refurbishment time. So the cost, there's no additional cables. And then we have a lighting management system that can control our energy consumption. And we still maintain safety in the car park. We still achieve a good lighting solution. And we also meet the lighting standards that we set out to achieve. Plus, we are going to reduce energy consumption and we're going to reduce our carbon footprint. So we're working towards this zero target of 2050. One of the solutions we have is called Basic Dim. And I'm going to ask Jens to explain that, because he's very technical. And then you can understand why this is really a nice solution for car parks.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, let me introduce Basic Dim Wireless to you. That's a wireless solution, as the name says. The system is called Basic Dim Wireless, and all the luminaires connected with this it has a big benefit, because you don't need any DALI wiring anymore. So normal way is to have bus communication, DALI stands for DALI, addressable lighting interface. But with wireless, it's a perfect way for refurbishment. So this system is going to be commissioned with a mobile app. So it's for handheld, as for a tablet, for example. There's a software on it, and then you can do the commissioning. And the benefit is quite good, because you can reduce the power consumption and, of course, as Alan already explained, the carbon emissions. Basic Dim Wireless is providing a mesh network. So what does mesh means? Mesh means all nodes connected to each other. So the information runs through different paths. So every node has a connection to its neighbor, and this has a lot of benefits. It's a very stable network, so it's not a single point of failure. That means when one node breaks down, has a fault, the network is still stable. So it's still working. The communications, the commands will always find a way to the next luminaires. And further on, the functionality is distributed over all nodes. That means on every node, there's a software where all the functionality is in. So presence management, daylight management, and all the stuff. If one node fails, the whole mesh network is still up and running, and this is a big benefit against a single point of failure. Okay. Of course, also this system has a certain limit, a limitation. So you can have up to 250 nodes in one network. Of course, you can have then more than one network in a facility. This is of course possible, so it's really scalable in terms of size. There are manifold functions, so switching is of course included, dimming, especially very important for presence management and for lighting scenes. You can group the luminaires, what is also very, very important, because with grouping you can also link certain sensor functionalities to single groups of the whole network. Tunable white is possible. Maybe that's not a big topic for parking, but it's also within that system. And lighting scenes, of course, as well. Manual control points are also in, as you see here, the black wireless wall switch. We are also working on a release of an ocean maintenance-free, battery-less wall mount push buttons. And as mentioned before, the whole commissioning, but also the controlling is done with mobile app. For iOS, that means for Apple devices, as well as for Android devices. It's available for free in the App Store. As you see here in an example, every luminaire is equipped with such a wireless node, and some of the luminaires has also a sensor integrated. It's a microwave, a radar sensor, and this is a very good kit for a one-to-one replacement. So you can deinstall the old luminaire, install on the same position the new wireless luminaire, and then you, for example, you can group them. And what the big benefit is, again, no additional cables has to be installed, so no additional effort and costs for DALI wiring. With this grouping functionality, you can also define different light levels for different areas. For example, you have risk areas like the payment, in the area where the payment machines are. So there you want to have a higher light level, then you set up a higher light level when presence is detected there, or the light has never, should never switch or dim really down to zero. But maybe there are other zones where a lower light level is absolutely acceptable. And the setup is all done with the commissioning app. There's one additional quite interesting feature which we provide. It's the mode central control, as we call it. This is a mixture of wireless on the one hand side and a DALI system on the other side. So we have a DALI system, it's called Lightcom, it's a DALI 2 system with a lot of functionality, calendar-based, that means time-based switching, daylight management, presence management, and so on. And then we have a kind of bridge to this wireless system with a DALI gateway, as you see here in the middle of the slide. So you set up the wireless network in the facility, maybe in one floor of the parking, and then this gateway can controls up to 64 luminaires, standard luminaires, as well as emergency luminaires, single battery powered emergency luminaires, and brings this information to the central DALI controller. And of course, this is scalable also for different levels. If you have a multi-story parking facility, then you have maybe 1 or 2 gateways per level, and then you can set up really a high professional lighting management system also on a wireless way in your parking facility. One advantage is, of course, the TCP/IP connections, and you can have, as we call it, as you see it here on the slide, facility connector. So our service organization or facility management organization can go on site, make a connection on site to that system for maintenance reasons or whatever. And this system is also a basis for upcoming digital services. Okay. And here I hand over again to Alan.
Okay, thank you, Jens. So a nice, simple explanation of basic DIM. So with relation to car parking, what we did is we looked at, well, what if we put basic DIM into a car park situation? And instead of replacing each luminaire one for one with a standard luminaire, we use basic dim with sensors. So in our case study that we calculated, we did a point-to-point replacement using basic dim, but also we included daylight harvesting, because a lot of multi-story car parks, they're operating during the day. They have the dark spots more in the middle, but towards the edges, there is natural light that we can use to ensure that we're lighting the area, and then we can save energy or can reduce the energy in the luminaires that are around the outside of the car park. So in this area, what we did, we also looked at the sensors when they're off. Then in that area, all the lights would dim to 10%. And then we'd have zoning areas. So in areas where there's lots of traffic, these were quite active, but they didn't interfere with areas that had no traffic. So we could actually split up within the car parking area, areas that are frequented by quite a lot, and we expect the lighting to turn on far more. And then in areas where there's very little traffic, we can keep them dimmed. But because we're dimming the light, and we don't have this cave effect, and we still have plenty of light for safety for people walking through. And of course, if they hit a sensor, then the lighting will come in that area anyway. So when we put that into calculation, the payback period is longer than the standard. It's 21 months because of the additional cost, and there is obviously additional commissioning. But the big advantage comes in the energy saving. So now we can, and this is versus fluorescent T8, we can, nearly 90% of our energy is saved from fluorescent. And the same when we look at our carbon reduction, nearly 62,000 kilograms of CO2 is reduced over this 12-year period. So it's really quite important. And what's more interesting is when we start to use controls and we're dimming the lights and we're controlling the lights, then our lifetime starts to go up. Now the calculation on this is 100,000 hours, but actually now by controlling the light and reducing the amount of energy, we can look at 15 years lifetime for this sort of solution. And we make a comparison between fluorescent, which is either T8, and the cost over lifetime energy consumption versus LED. So with LED, just the total cost of the lifetime, we can see a 39% reduction. But in energy costs and CO2, we get 55%. When we step up and we look at dimming or controls, we can see an even bigger reduction. So we can see that the cost of a lifetime is 61%, and our energy reduction is 90%. And that's a significant amount just by controlling the light to be on the right time in the right place. And from my point of view, implementing an LED luminaire and lighting controls into a car park refurbishment will not only reduce energy bills, but also contribute to significantly reducing greenhouse gases in the future. So for us, it is really quite an important area to bring into car parking, especially multi-story and underground car parking, because we have the technology and the solutions that can help you. So that's the indoor part that we've done. We're now moving to outdoor lighting solutions, and here I'm going to hand over to Eliot, who is our expert in outdoor. Over to you, Eliot.
Thanks, Alan. So I'm conscious that this isn't a webinar about light pollution or dark skies, but it does play a very important part in the topic of outdoor car park lighting applications. Whatever that kind of outdoor car park is, light pollution is a topic that we need to be aware of. So I'm not going to go into loads of details about the overall umbrella topic of light pollution, but just to give a very quick introduction as to why it's a really important topic wherever we are in the world, and why how it can affect us negatively, and then we'll go into how we hopefully combat that. So as you can see here, there's in very simple terms, 3 different layers to light pollution and some of the negative impacts that it can have. So human health and well-being, yes, it prevents our ability to stargaze at night, which is an absolutely wonderful thing to do. However, light pollution is increasing at twice the rate of global population growth. And it's now having an inherent impact on human health and our circadian rhythm. And that's really important, our circadian rhythm, because we rely on that day-night cycle to have a healthy sleep pattern, to have a strong immune system. And light pollution really does affect that, and a lot more health issues as well. From a human perspective, we also factor in the wildlife and ecology that ultimately sustains us, you know, whether it's migratory birds wandering off course, whether it's massively declining insect populations, which then affect food webs. And what's also interesting when we look at the wildlife and ecology part is that wherever you are in the world, light pollution has a slightly different impact depending on your location. You know, sea turtles is a big topic in the Middle East and in Florida, for example, where, you know, thousands of sea turtle hatchlings die every year because they use the natural light on the horizon, but light pollution causes them to wander off course. You know, we have different stories for bats, birds, and so on and so forth. And then sustainability. You know, sustainability is knitted throughout this webinar on car park lighting. It's estimated that 30% of outdoor light in Europe is lost to light pollution. And that's a really important thing that we need to control now, because that equates to 3.3 billion in wasted energy and 21 million tons of carbon dioxide per year, which I think from memory takes something like 875 million trees to offset that, which is an impossible target. So we're really conscious of these different layers of light pollution, and the Thorn brand is genuinely passionate about developing new innovative technologies and solutions so that we can provide the right lighting for car parks, but we reduce the impact of light pollution. Alan, please could you switch over slides? So how can Thorn help light the outdoor spaces of a car park, but also limit the effects of light pollution? Well, the easiest thing to do is to go to our IDA approved portfolio of products. So the IDA is the International Dark Sky Association, and they're the global authority on light pollution. And they have a fixture seal of approval program where they analyze photometric data of a luminaire. We have to meet a warm color temperature because blue light content is more harmful to humans and wildlife. We can emit a very low amount of upward light. You know, we can't angle fixtures so that light is pointing upwards. So certainly that's the simplest form in which to provide light into the outdoor spaces of a car park, but reduce the impact of light pollution. To take that to the next level, we've developed a new technology which we call NightTune. So NightTune is genuinely seen as a market leader now in dark sky sensitive lighting technology. It's a wonderful technology because what it does is it manages in a single solution to meet our and improve sustainability targets. It reduces the impact on humans and reduces the impact on wildlife and ecology. We've created a white paper on NightTune, which is available to download, that goes into a lot of specific scientific detail about how this system works. But what I'm really talking about here is long stay out of town car parks. So how does NightTune benefit that kind of car park application? Alan, please could you switch over? So NightTune is in effect two different color temperatures of LED within the same luminaire. So we have a 4000 Kelvin neutral white LED and a 2200 Kelvin extra warm white LED. Through the day-night cycle, the light autonomously changes color so that as we get into the less active parts of the evening, where typically traffic densities decline, human activity declines, we therefore see an upturn in the amount of activity from wildlife and ecology, and the system warms to a very warm color, less blue light content, less impactful on humans and wildlife. And alongside that, we also dim the whole solution so that we're also reducing our energy consumption. The reason why we use 4,000 Kelvin instead of, say, 3,000 Kelvin and 2,200 Kelvin is because we get an improved system efficacy. We get more light out for the energy that we put into a luminaire. That said, that if we compare NightTune to a fixed 3,000 Kelvin colour that has a dimming system, NightTune still emits less blue light content through the night cycle than a standard static 3,000 Kelvin solution does. And we've integrated that into various different luminaire types depending on what the car park application is. You know, we've got more functional car parks that perhaps have higher traffic density roadways leading up to them, where we start to look at R2L2 and CARAT. We've got car parks that need to meet certain standards from a visual perception, and therefore Plurio is a more decorative approach to car park lighting. And Area Flood Pro, a very popular product in long stay airport parking, quite high mounted. It's fantastic that in those applications we can now integrate NightTune as a solution. Alan, please could you switch over? So to add an extra tier onto that, we didn't just launch NightTune on its own. We added something in addition, variable light distribution. So where with NightTune, we have two different color temperatures of LED within the same luminaire that then changes autonomously through the night cycle. With variable light distribution, we also add in different optics that create a different beam angle from the same fixture so that we can have two complementary lit effects. So that could be from one luminaire point, we have an optic that is perfect for a cycleway, a pedestrian walkway, and in addition, whatever the type of roadway is then adjacent to it. So that means that when movement is detected in this application, not only do we have the exact right beam angle and lit effect specific to the place where the activity is, we can also change the color temperature within the same luminaire, which creates a visual cue for either a pedestrian or a motorist, or motorists alike, as they move throughout that space so they can identify each other really clearly. So variable light distribution and NightTune are two technologies which we've innovated, which lend themselves so well to various different applications of car parks. Variable light distribution, very relevant for high population density areas where we assist with those visual cues. And NightTune is great for those typically out of town, longer stay car parks. Alan, please could you switch over? So then we move into the connected solutions for controls and connectivity. So the Thorn brand, as you can see on the right-hand side here, we've got various different layers of OLC, outdoor lighting controls, OLC 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we have this full package suite of various different controls and connectivity solutions depending on what the application is. Certainly when we look at car park applications, we're going to focus on Urbasense Civic Connect and Urbasense Sentinel. So just two out of this portfolio. Alan, please could you change slides? So the first one here is Urbasense Civic Connect. So Civic Connect is quite unique in the market because it uses a cellular-based technology. So Cat N1 and similar to that, future-proof mobile technology, similar to what we have in our mobile phones. And that means that each luminaire has an identifiable GPS, and that can be identified from a CMS platform anywhere in the world. So you can log in and control your lighting system wherever you might be. And you can do that from the comfort of your laptop or mobile phone. What that CMS platform provides with the Civic Connect solution is a full package suite of sustainability analysis. It tells you how much carbon you're using. It tells you your energy saving. It gives you a heat map of your car park and shows exactly where the activity is and isn't, and how people and pedestrians traffic, cyclists move throughout that space. This is a really great tool to have to support maintenance schedules and support planning and security systems. And it really gives you kind of the ultimate information package at your fingertips of your car park. And this is designed with car park applications in mind, typically up to around 100 light points per installation. Alan, please could you go on to the next slide? So the second one that we're going to focus on from the controls and connectivity portfolio is Urbasense Sentinel. So Urbasense Sentinel is the go-to solution to be able to enable NightTune and variable light distribution. It's a very different technology type to the one that we just saw that was cellular based. This is a 868 megahertz mesh system, which is a very stable solution and technology to work with. And the benefit of this particular control system is that there's no SIM cards, there's no web connection needed, there's no service feeds, so it's very much an install and forget solution that we have on offer. And yes, we also have one GPS node per installation. And unlike a lot of competitor products, that means that there's never any stray of your date and time. So when you're creating these weekly schedules based on how you use the space, based on your opening hours, based on a local transport network, it means that the control system never loses track of date and time. And we can adapt light schedules to anything in principle, traffic patterns, rhythms, transportation schedules. And this is also then has the added layer, should you wish, of NightTune and or variable light distribution as well. For applications within car parks of around about 60 luminaire points. Thanks very much. Over to you, Alan.
Okay, thanks very much, Eliot. So we're coming kind of towards the end of our presentation, and before we come to the end, we just wanted to show you a case study. This is a retail park in Belgium, and when it was launched, it was Belgium's most sustainable park, and it was one of Europe's first CO2 neutral retail parks, and Thorn supplied the outdoor and the indoor lighting solution. And part of the challenges of this is really obviously the sustainability story that they very much had, but also the visual. And one of the challenges they had was the Zaro, which is the post stop that goes outside in the car park, had to be no more than 4 meters. And to get the widespread of light distribution across the car park and still minimize the number of lighting points was quite a challenge. But we had an optic called SES that allowed us to do that. So we had very wide we had a wide lighting distribution, but also the distance between each fitting was also quite large as well. And it was quite successful. Not only did we win this project, but also the solution is now being used in a number of other projects where they're looking for the same sort of target. And we'd just like to show you a short video so you can see the lighting solution in action. And if you look at the photograph, you can see there's over 6,000 solar panels on the roof of the retail park. So very much focusing on sustainability and energy saving in the future. So that's just a short video of one of the projects that we did within Europe, lighting both indoor car parking and outdoor. So the next part, really, why we're here is how can we help you? Because we very much want to be your partner for car park lighting solutions. We want to show you what we have to offer. You've seen our portfolio for both indoor and outdoor. We talk about energy saving and sustainability. That's part of our DNA. And what we didn't talk about was emergency. So we can also help you with emergency solutions within the car park as well. And as part of the portfolio, we can offer warranties and delivery solutions. From a lighting design point of view, we have light planners that can help you design the lighting solution, both indoor and outdoor. We can base this on the lighting norms and offer Lenny calculations and dark sky principles. Plus digital services, controls. We have some expertise at every level of controls, both indoor and outdoor, from basic just sensors on and off to wireless, which we explained today, but even more advanced, the level of IoT. We're expecting the next generation to be offers of predictive maintenance. So you can imagine in a car park scenario where you can monitor each of the lighting points within your car park and anticipate when it's going to fail so that you can replace it. And not only that you can replace it, but you know which one's failed and what product has failed. Outdoor controls and NightTune, explained by Eliot, and variable light distribution, all offers that we offer within our digital service package. Plus commissioning, we can help you with the installation. We have an after-sales service. We have a training team. They can train your contractors on getting the best out of your lighting solution, and technical support for before and after the project. And we have the ability to offer maintenance contract as well. But the most important for us is the sustainability story. We can help you with your energy efficiency and decarbonization plan. We can help you to obtain your green building certificates. We can provide the data. And certainly we can help you with reduction of carbon, which is going to be a very important subject in the coming years. Even recycling. We have within Europe a team of people where we can actually take back the old fitting and have it recycled. And that's across the whole of Europe. And our EPDs, so environmental product declarations, that a lot of customers are requesting now. So they want to know where a product was made, what the content is, and what the carbon content of that product is. So we can offer all these services as part of our solution. And if you want to contact us, we have a QR code. If you take your camera or your mobile phone, you can certainly this will give you a link directly to us. If not, you can email us at info@thornlighting.com, and we'll come back to you and certainly pursue whatever project you're working with and offer our help and in getting a solution. So that's our presentation complete. I hope you found it very interesting. We covered a lot of subjects, but you can see from Thorn, we are lighting experts. We see where the future is going. It's very much sustainability, energy reduction, and we need to hit the targets set out to us that we want to try and achieve from a government point of view. And for us, we want to be very much a partner with you. So.
Saving costs and saving the planet. What's not to like, Alan? Thank you all for the fantastic presentation. So indeed, there's some time left, so now would be a good moment for the audience to jump in with their questions. There was already one that was provided earlier, or rather, comment about the cost effectiveness of your solution. So, we were told that by the time a contractor purchases LED tubes, removes the gear, and so on, it is no longer cost effective. Can you give us some information about the integration and comment on this?
For the tubes themselves, more about the tubes is really about their performance within the lighting solution. When you change up the characteristics of a fluorescent compared to LED, LED is very much a point light source. So we have to design the optics with LED. In an older fitting where it's designed around fluorescent, the optics are slightly different. So you won't get the same performance and the same efficiencies as you would if you used an LED fitting that's complete. But the other challenge here is that if you put the LED tube into a waterproof product that's sealed, then the characteristics of the LED inside a sealed fitting may reduce the lifetime, as LEDs are very much affected by heat, and if the thermals of the luminaire is outside the characteristics of the LED tube, then you actually see a reduction in the lifetime of the LED tube. So our feeling is that it's actually better to use the right product for the right solution. And as we design luminaires, that's what we do as a business. We design the optics and the LEDs to work together, and we look at lifetime of over 100,000 hours is our target at the moment. Did that answer
If there's
the
other
question?
questions from the audience, now would be a good moment. It's well packed with live audience, so sure there are more to come. Yeah, I did have one question to provide. Yeah, you mentioned that when it comes to your solutions that there would be low maintenance, but if there are issues externally, not related to your products, is it a quick fix usually, depending on the scale of the project?
I mean, LED solutions are, the solid state, they're fairly robust. Yes, there can be external factors that could affect them. It does happen, and we have a quality team that investigate these situations, and certainly will help customers to solve the problem. So the after sales part of Thorn is as important as the project itself.
And how long would, let's say, when it comes to a large facility with about 300 parking lots, how long would it take for implementing of the solution for something like this?
You mean a refurbishment solution?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is obviously down to the contract and how, time is money. We always look, and certainly from the indoor point of view, is if the point-for-point replacement works, because sometimes even in the lighting design scheme, because of the quality of lighting luminaires now, we may actually reduce the number of luminaires to fit the lighting design. But if it's a point-for-point, I think it's down to the project team. I think it's fairly simple. The design of waterproof luminaires from an installation point of view hasn't changed in the last 15 years. So it's probably one out and one in. I think it depends on the location. I think one of the things we would like to do is when we have a certain product type of project, we would talk about that installation part of it. And we have a team within sales who can help and advise on installation, both for indoor and for outdoor.
So there was another question that came in. Any chance of night-tuned fitting with highest color temp of 4000K?
So the reason why NightTune, whilst it uses the neutral 4000K and then the extra 122, that system never goes above 3000 Kelvin. And the answer to will we do a 4000 Kelvin version is definitely no. And that's because we have to go to a maximum of 3000 Kelvin because that is the color temperature that is most beneficial to wildlife ecology, humans, and the specific reason for that is because 3000 Kelvin emits less blue light content than the cooler color temperatures does. So it's very much defined as a maximum of 3000 Kelvin, and that's aligned with the International Dark Sky Association expectations. No luminaire can get their fixture seal of approval if it's above 3000 Kelvin. So within our portfolio, we do have 4000 Kelvin solutions and 4000 Kelvin outdoor products, but they aren't considered as dark sky sensitive or approved in any way.
Thank you for the answer. Any more questions? There's a few more minutes left, but all of you were quite informative, well presented. It's a quite detailed presentation. Let's give it a second. But otherwise, we could also end it there. And for the audience, you can always reach out to Alan, Eliot, or Jens via the email that they provided earlier. or of course, you can also come to parking.net with further questions to be passing on. There is a question actually. Do the systems generate fault reports automatically?
The basically wireless system. If a fault is when a luminaire has a fault, if this is seen, yes, it is. It is seen in the, as we call it, local control. So if one luminaire has a failure, you will see it on the mobile app, and especially in the what I shown the central control in combination with the DALI controller. This fault is then shown in the Lightcom app in the user interface. There's a special chapter in the user interface for faults. And this is stored also there, and this is especially made for the facility manager. Yes.
On the app, it's an interesting question, because I suppose that we consider that in most car park applications, there's always a navigation of staff through that space doing certain analysis of what needs maintenance and what doesn't, and that's not just from a lighting perspective. But yeah, to add on to Jens' comment as well, from an outdoor perspective, the central management system, Urbasense control solutions, also have that reporting capability if there's a fault in one of the luminaires.
Thank you for the answer. There's another question in the meantime. What would the typical communication range be between fittings on an internal car park using a basic DIM system?
It's up to 15 meters. So it's based on a Bluetooth communication. And if you Google for Bluetooth, detect a range, it's more than a couple of meters. But the wireless nodes we place into luminaires, and we build up a lot of knowledge about where to place and how to place these nodes into luminaires, that you can guarantee that you achieve a maximum distance, and we guarantee up to 15 meters if nothing is in between, and that's normally absolutely sufficient for or in collaboration with the lighting design.
All right. Any more questions? This would be the chance with the time that's left. Otherwise, Alan, Eliot, Jens, thank you very much for joining today and providing this wonderful presentation. And thank you as well for the audience, for the questions, and also for joining today. I wish everyone a fantastic day.
Great.
Thanks very much, Manoj. Thanks everyone for listening.
Yep, thank you very much for your time.